So we're here with Ryan, Ricky, and Praneel, who are participants in karate here at Lawrenceville. How did you guys first get introduced to karate, and how much have you enjoyed your experience so far?
I have actually had previous experience with Taekwondo as a child, so knowing that this was coming back, I felt like I wanted a challenge with strength and stamina, since those were my two weakest assets.
So I've been doing karate, Shotokan karate, which is a traditional style of Japan, for 8 years. And I've always had an interest in karate. And so we're doing Tang Sudo, which is a kind of a combination between karate and Taekwondo, and it's a traditional Korean art. So it's very interesting to see all the techniques in Korean and learn a new style. It's just very enriching.
So with karate being more of an individual sport, how do you guys lean on each other for success and improvement?
Well, I wouldn't say it's individual exactly. Like, we do all have a common goal of individually improving, and some of us have more experience than others, and I've been helped plenty of times by others in the class who've had more experience than I have.
We're here with Mrs. Montez, who is the instructor for karate here at Lawrenceville. Has karate ever been an option for students at the school before?
It has been, but it was a while ago, and it was something that I loved, and I was very sad that it had disappeared. So I wanted to bring it back for the students.
I understand that Mr. Koya and Master Roman, who is a 6th degree black belt, have helped out throughout this term. What has it been like having their help in the class?
Well, it's been great. Master Roman was there at the World Charter Convention in 1982, so he brings a wealth of knowledge and experience, depth of knowledge of the art, and tons of experience teaching it to students.
For students who are looking to pursue Tang Sudo outside of Lawrenceville, what advice do you have for them?
Absolutely do it. It's a wonderful art. The thing that's special about Tang Sudo is that you're not just focusing on the physical, you're also focusing on developing your mental stamina, your focus, and those are things that help you beyond the dojang.
Now that I've had some fun learning about karate, I'm going to kick it back to you, Michaela.
Hi, and welcome to L10. I'm Michaela Boxley. Senior sports producer Lucas Sims just gave you an inside look at one of the more unique sports offerings here at Lawrenceville, karate. We have lots of stories to share with you on this week's show, but before we do, here's a bit of what's happening around campus. The Lawrenceville community fought the rain last weekend as it held the 6th annual Run for Color to benefit the Williams Syndrome Association. Despite the downpour, faculty and their families, students, and Williams Syndrome Association officials managed to rally together, make the event happen, and raise over $3,000 for the nonprofit. This past weekend was Lawrenceville's annual Hill Day. Teams and fans kept the rivalry going for its 132nd year. And here at Lawrenceville, we celebrated with a Spirit Week, pep rally, and the return of a bonfire. Take a look. And now, meet a group on campus that's different than anything Lawrenceville has ever seen. This is the creator collective 808VILLEage.
Arik already had a music production club, and he was trying to do something different with it this year. He came to me because I have been writing songs and writing poetry for a long time. And then I met Luke Young, who's also in Grizz, and he actually made beats, so I didn't have to steal them from other people. In that collaboration piece, that made it a lot more social. And so we wanted to keep that going. Arik came to me and said that he wanted to do something where he can make that social activity happen, but wider scale. We didn't know what we would call it or what it was, but what we knew we wanted it to be was a group of people that all had different interests in the pursuit of making music. There was a barrier that you need to cross. If you don't know enough about making instrumentals, then you kind of shy away from it. That's what I was doing. So I was just kind of stuck to going on YouTube, searching up my favorite artists, finding their instrumentals. But now it's a lot better for us to actually collaborate, because instead of taking something that's pre-packaged, pre-made, we have very, very talented musicians that are able to, at the click of a button, make things flow exactly how you want it to. The next couple of weeks, we have a few things almost ready to get dropped. We have a lot of kind of saved up content that just needs to be tweaked or fixed a little bit, and we're gonna try and make a cool music video that'll show up on L10.
Now, before we take you to our next story, some updates on sports at Lawrenceville. Boys and girls cross country each won Maple titles, the boys defeating the Petty School and the girls defeating the Hill School. Girls field hockey took another win over Blair to earn the NJS IAA A tournament title. Girls varsity tennis also earned a state title in a tie with Pingree, and boys water polo won their Garden State tournament. Congrats to all these teams as they close out their seasons. And now, our senior artist producer Fiona Pando takes you to sit down with Josh Tower, who's best known for playing Aaron Burr as part of the original cast of Hamilton.
So can you tell me a little bit about the tour you're on right now?
It's great to be able to bring the show to people's backyards, basically, and have them come and see the show and see this amazing piece of work, which has also spurned lots of conversation about pitfalls right now in the country.
How does having a diverse cast and a race-conscious casting process, how has that affected Hamilton?
That bothers some people. I mean, there's a faction of people who are like, I just think that's wrong, you know, the founding fathers, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's an old argument, and we're trying to convey new thought into what the reality of the situation was, which was the fact that though these guys were white European guys, they were in fact immigrants. So that's where Lynn kind of took control of the whole immigrant idea, and having the show be literally everybody.
So what has been the best memory you've made in the Hamilton cast?
It's very much a community effort. We've got great people in our building in New York. So to tour with your friends, get out there and to be able to share, you know, the sites in all these cities that we go to, that part of it's really, really cool and really special, because most of these gigs are generally about the people. That's what you're going to take away. And that's what it ends up being throughout your career. Oh my God, this gig was great because of this person, and this person.
So what does the future hold? Do you want to go back to more television?
I do want to go back to more television and film, primarily because in theater, I have shows on Saturday and Sunday, so I don't have time with my family when most people have the weekend off.
Well, thank you very much for sitting and talking with us.
You're welcome. You guys are awesome.
Finally this week, meet Yale professor and historian Joanne Freeman as she sits down with L10's senior news producer Caroline Bednar to discuss violence and vitriol in politics in the pre-Civil War era and now.
What compelled you to write about this aspect of history?
Well, in this case, I guess what grabbed me was evidence. I'm a political historian. I like to write about politics, and I tend to write about politicians behaving badly. So I write about political violence, among other things. But in this case, I just knew generally at the time period I wanted to write about, and I knew I wanted to write about politics and maybe violence and honor, and had read a collection early on of letters from a congressman that happened to have a lot of violence in it, and I was so intrigued with that evidence that I began to ask more questions and find more violence, and the book kind of came out of evidence.
How do you make sure that all these sources are credible?
You have to think about each individual piece of evidence. You have to think about how it was made, who made it, who they thought might be reading it. So a diary generally tends to be trustworthy, at least somewhat, because the person usually writing it isn't, you don't assume they think someone else is going to be reading it. That said, people don't tend to make themselves look bad in their diary, so you have to think about that. People writing to wives or husbands or relatives, probably there's more sincerity in that.
How do you suggest that we as Laurentians go about research process for our history papers?
It's a great question, and part of the answer has to do with the kinds of questions you ask. At the beginning of a project, hopefully you kind of have a sense of what the subject is and what about it interests you. It's good to kind of just ask a general question and see if you could figure out an answer. My favorite part, if it's not already obvious, is the research part, right? I love doing the research. And part of that process is, it's like a big sort of game of okay, how am I going to find it? What am I going to find? What happens if I do find it? What if I don't find it? And so it's asking itself a series of questions and then being open-minded about looking at what you're seeing and not assuming that you're going to find certain things, but just really evaluating what you see, what you find.
That's all for this week's show. As always, if you have a story to tell, let us know, or stop by our office in the basement of Pop Hall. From all of us here at L10, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.